tonight's Health and Ordinance meeting on April 17th at 6:32 p.m. We have 3 items on the agenda today. It'll be utility billing, utility software, and a small section on food trucks. The main purpose of this meeting is the recent House bill that passed that is affecting our utility department. We wanted to get ahead of it a little bit and come up with a procedure so that our utility department can start working on that and figure out the best way to implement it. We can just roll into that. We had originally talked in council about a new due date, but a due date 15 days earlier than our normal due date. However, that due date will come with no penalties or fees until the 15 days after that, when our normal penalties and fees would come about. Typically around the 1st. So for the customer, in theory, nothing changes other than there'll be a new due date on the bill. And when this House bill comes about, they will have, as state mandated, another 30 days past the normal time, the normal cutoff date.
Because we've already given 15.
Yep.
So this puts
It went
us-
from 60 to 45,
Yeah.
if I missed something,
Yeah.
but, yeah. And that is only for municipals, by the way, it's only for, government agencies.
Yep, and utility department's come up with this very nice paper that covers our current billing process and our new billing process, and kind of spelled it out. And then they've also included a beautiful calendar of how they think the next couple months will go. So, starting in June, the May bills will, their June bills will be sent to the post office for mailing around the 30th. The May bills will become due the 31st, and then you'll get the 5% late fee.
On the 30th, if we have 30 days, because some of us have 30 days.
Correct. Brittany, you wanna go into a little more, you know, a little better?
Yeah,
It's
so,
the last business day of the month, right?
yeah, whatever the last business day of the month is usually, but actually usually gets them to the post office a few days before that, just depending on if everything goes smoothly. And then the bills are due the last business day of the month.
So, if you go through this, when would the first adjustment start officially?
So it wouldn't start until July. So the first big change would be the June bills will be taken to the post office, the July bills will be taken to the post office the last business day in June. The late fees will not change. The 5% will still go on for the June bills July 1st. The only difference really, and it's not gonna affect anyone, is the due date will be July 15th for the July bills. However, you still will not get a 5% late fee until August 1st. We're just saying that due date because we'll be able to qualify the 45 days for disconnection sooner.
And the other part of this that's probably gonna catch customers' ears is with this going in process, like we discussed in council, we will no longer have any extensions or payment plans because you're already getting an extra 30 days.
Yeah, this gives longer than that would allow anyway.
So,
It's a lot easier.
When they,
Yes.
when they,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no problem. When they start questioning or disagreeing with that, we need to make sure we let them know that they're getting more time with this plan
Yep.
than the original one.
And we're gonna put notices on the back of the bills. We're gonna put up a Facebook
Yeah,
notice and something on the website.
They're still getting 30 extra past
Yeah,
the
they get a whole
Yeah,
month.
but I'm busy. Yeah,
They're not getting any extra towards the fees.
they can
No.
do this every month if they want to, but they gotta pay it.
Yeah, as long as they pay it within the
45%.
45 days, they're
Right.
good.
And the late fees.
Yep.
Right.
They'll still get charged the same late fees, and
Right.
it's just, instead of cutting off on the 16th, we'll be doing it near the end of the month.
But, right,
I
so we need to let them know that so that
Yep.
they can, let their hair on the back of their neck
Mhm.
move back down.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
they've in this packet, there's been a template for what will the back of the bill will say, correct?
yep, we'll put this on the back of the bills for next 2 months. So
And
people have
which part is that y'all are putting?
the very last page.
The very last, just all of this?
Yep.
Okay.
It goes into detail about what the current billing process is, what it's changing to, about the law that's going into effect.
So has the governor signed this bill?
Not to my
July
knowledge.
1st.
Okay. So it's still not official?
But I think by all indications from VEMA and MEPAV, it's moving forward, but I haven't seen anything formal that he's,
We'd benefit as a town to do it anyway, I would think, I mean, overall in the long run, wouldn't we? I mean,
we used to be 15 days. During my tenure here, I can't remember the date, but it was 15 days for years. From the date the bill
so,
went out until it was due. And this is basically going back to what we had. But it still gives the citizen an extra 30 days.
Yeah, it still gives them 30 days. I imagine there's still gonna be people that call and go, hey, why is my bill due 50 days early? I don't have money right now.
Yeah, and we'll just
And
tell
then-
them, you still don't get a late fee until the first of the following month.
There's no penalties, we're not
There's no
reporting you to
penalty for
anybody.
the due date
there's nothing.
moving, right.
It's really just all on
Only,
paper.
only time they actually deal with penalties if they allow themselves to go to the point of disconnection. And then they have to deal with the reconnection fees and all that.
well, the
But they
trouble-
got an extra 30 days to deal with that.
They'll still have some of the normal fees at the normal
Yeah.
mark,
Mark.
but it's
It'll still be
essentially
the
keeping
5%.
everything status quo. The only thing that's happening are the extensions are going away, and then there'll be an extra line that says due date on the bill that is 15 days earlier. But essentially, it's the exact same. I also advocated that we have Alex probably put something on the website, and then if Brittany can make a Facebook post and share it a couple times as this comes up, maybe in a little bit less words than this, that says, hey, your due date's gonna say 15 days earlier, but penalties and fees are not until 15 days after that, which is the same due date, or something a little easier to read than the one pager.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
And no payment agreements and no extensions,
no
that's just
extensions.
gonna help y'all out a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it won't be anything to keep up with if you're.
Yeah, make it a lot easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
headache wise.
Has the council voted on this yet?
We haven't. I wanted to bring it here. Actually, I talked to Brittany a little bit about it. She advocated to have a meeting for it. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring it here just to make sure that we're on the same page beforehand, before we put it out in front of the whole council, and that we have a plan for it. I think I expected to be more talk about it, but it looks like the utility department did an amazing job with.
Not a whole lot is
with this.
changing other than the payment agreements and extensions.
No, this part, I know it's part of the law, the new bill will prevent the disconnection of any, utility service until the bill is 45 days in arrears.
Okay.
Forecasted temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below within a 24-hour period.
Yeah, we'll have to keep a close eye on that too.
But that doesn't make sense there, does it? That's saying if the temperature is below 32 within a 24-hour period,
We're forecast to be below 32.
Yes.
You can't cut off.
yeah, well, this. Okay, so these are like, I'm thinking, I gotta look at it as bullets, because in my mind,
So
So-
if we cut off on the 15th, and within the 24-hour period in the 15th, it is supposed to go below 24 degrees, or 32 degrees,
Right.
we can't cut off.
Would you rather see it as a bullet?
well, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, but these are the reasons that the new bill will prevent disconnection.
We can condense it a little bit.
Your power won't be disconnected until you're 45 days over. The forecasted temperature is gonna
Okay,
be,
I get what you're saying.
You know
Well,
what I'm
it's like,
saying?
these are the reasons you wouldn't be.
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
These-
yeah, we can do that.
people may, I'm slow,
No,
but.
you're fine.
But again, I thought we'd have more to discuss on this, but it looks like, again, they did a pretty good, clear cut and dry. I think we're within our rights if we wanted to impose, a secondary fee somewhere within that extra 30 days. I don't really believe that that's necessary at this time. I guess we'll kind of see how those first months
The only
go.
other change that we had made is that $12.50 reconnection fee
Mhm.
was $25 at one time, was it not?
Mhm.
And so it was cut in half years ago. I don't know if you guys want to take a look at that, consider that, go back to $25 if you get cut off, even after all that time.
I remember that.
Yeah, that may be one other thing that you may want to discuss, whether you want to do it now, want to do it later, however you want to do it, but that, it was $25. If you got on that reconnect list, not just disconnected,
And
But
that's
if you
how
were
it
on
is
the-
with the 1250. If you pay after the 15th, you have to pay that fee no matter what, whether you're
12.50,
physically
yeah.
cut off or not.
And
whether you're
originally-
physically cut off.
Originally, that went to weatherization funds.
originally, yeah.
I
That was the
don't-
intention, because we collected that much money in the electric department budget, pardon?
Where would it go now?
The additional,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, I think you're gonna lose a lot of money on your utilities here very shortly. This extra 30 days is gonna have a lot of people taking off on us.
Yeah, we cut off, I think, 74
I
people
think-
yesterday.
I think you
And that's just the
probably
normal
need to,
cost, it's probably gonna double.
I think you probably need to start setting some monies aside to reimburse or cover the cost of accounts that go south on you. I think there's gonna be an appreciable number. I don't know how many. This is all new territory, but it's water, sewer, and electric.
So let's talk through just a normal process, like with the 74 cutoffs. How many, and these can all be ballpark numbers, so you get 70 cutoffs in a month. The day after cut, or the next business day after cutoff, how many of those,
We're still on.
or either way, still off or come in and pay?
You said like
35.
35
35,
we're
so-
still off today.
So then we have
About
35
half
that
of
are not.
So
And do
35 were still off today.
And those are people that just didn't call at all to either make a payment or sign a payment agreement. That doesn't include the people who just got a payment agreement or extension to get reconnected.
Yeah, they still haven't paid
Because
yet.
it's probably half of the people got a payment agreement or extension to be reconnected.
Yeah.
So how many of those in a typical month just never reconnect?
I would say maybe 4 or 5.
And then are they just canceling and
They
moving?
just
I
maybe don't
just
say
closed that
anything.
account out.
And I know this is probably a question that would be hard to know, but do you think those people are moving within the town, or do you think they're switching their utility bill to another name, or?
If they move within the town, then they have to pay
They
the
have to
bill.
pay it, so they're moving, if that's the case, they're probably moving out of town.
Our ordinance
So-
even says that they're living in the house, but how do you prove that?
Yeah,
I think that's always been
Unless
the,
they're on the lease with the
Cooper.
person there, it's gonna be hard to prove it.
So in
Possible
theory,
proof.
that we might have, and I mean, at least how I read that, we might have a tough month or two, but eventually,
People will catch on.
people are gonna
eventually,
catch on, or they're gonna move out of town.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's really I don't think there's any.
After
other
the
way
first
around it.
3 or 4 months, people will probably start to catch on that they get cut off at the end of the month instead of the middle of the month.
Those are not people on a certain income, are they?
Some
Or
of
any
them
of
are.
those things?
Sure.
Some, I think some
Some
of
of them were,
Yeah.
okay. You gotta keep that in mind.
them. So, I don't think at this time, I don't think we should do anything different with the fees. Do y'all agree with that?
I agree, but we gotta have some kind of kitty for it. That's why I was talking about the weatherization and not, cutting it from the budget, because worst case, we could use some of that to curb some of the pain for the town until the people either pay back or, I mean, do we pursue these people with, I guess it'd be a
Oh, yeah, they're in
full-time
like,
job.
oh, yeah. We have, ERMs, which it takes, Ashley does ERMs, and they take their state tax money if it's not paid. We do that every December, and we're about to do garnishments, for personal property taxes, and Ashley does utilities. So we're garnish their paychecks if it's not paid, so that's what, it's like 250 utility people.
So by the end of the year, you work
A
towards
lot of
getting
it's
all of
collected,
them
we just
current.
got our first ERMs payment, it was
$18,000.
$18,000.
So I think it'll be a temporary problem. I think if we end up in a bind, then, and Philip stepped out, but I think we can leverage a line of credit or something
Yeah.
along those times to get through to the end of the year until we start
Yeah.
getting those ERMs.
And get the money back and put it in return.
So
we'll
I
get
don't,
lien payments like by August, hopefully most of our garnishments will be done, and then in December she'll submit the ERMs list again,
But we won't get anything for that.
March or April.
Do we as a town, do we maintain, is there a list of addresses, residents, people that absolutely would die if their power got cut off because of their health conditions?
Honestly,
mean,
don't.
When it comes down to it, whether it's hot, cold,
Yeah.
warm, whatever it is.
on cutoff day, there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
tell you they have
I mean, but if,
nebulizers and all that
I'm
kind of
almost thinking we would want that list for, just decency, but I mean, if they have a legal medical document stating, hey, I need power on all the time because I have,
We do have a lot of customers call and say, hey, I'm on oxygen, but, I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't prevent you from having to pay your bill, but we don't have a list, no.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think
Yeah.
we should get rid of,
It
but I
would be
do
something
know of
absurd.
cases
Yeah.
of people with sickle cell. And sickle cell has its worst time during the cold season because
Yeah.
those people cannot get cold.
Yeah.
It really activates the anti, prevention system with them when it's cold. So
Yeah.
we should try to get a list if possible of people who have genuine, because that's documented.
Yeah.
Having the oxygen tanks or a humidifier is not necessarily documented, but sickle cell is
So will
something
we,
you
with
can
this
get from the
list,
doctor.
would those people not have to pay?
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it would, maybe we show them a little extra care and as, like, hey, you're about to get, like, maybe, I don't advocate giving everybody phone calls, but maybe that would be, hey, I realize you have a health risk right now, you're about to get
Or find out if social services has a program and say you need to call social services
Yeah.
because they.
A lot of people do
Yeah.
use social services and we get the cool-in or fuel assistance checks.
They
I
should,
think
be-
most people there probably have health issues do receive that money.
they should be able to provide,
I mean, some
Mhm.
people get it all year long.
Yeah.
Some people never pay a bill, they get it all year.
they should be able to provide some document from a
Yeah.
doctor or medical
Yeah, that's what I was
professional stating that they need.
So now perhaps with this date change, might it help people that get their checks the first of every month, the first, second, and third, so then they get paid,
Yeah,
and they're
maybe.
like, oh, my bill is now due the 15th, so instead of thinking it was due
Waiting.
the last business day of the month, they wait until the next month because they don't, but now maybe they'll see it and say, hey, it's due on the 15th, and I just got my check on
Yeah,
the
it
3rd,
might.
and my.
I think it will benefit the people that get paid like the first and third.
Yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, cause by that point, before, even if they can't pay it by the 15th, by that point, they'll at least have gotten 2 checks.
Yeah.
Before
it's due.
And I think we'll,
This might be beneficial.
That's true.
I think with the next topic, with the utility software, we can work, I was planning on talking about budget billing a little bit on the on the next one. But do we wanna, how do you guys feel about the initial plan? Is that something you got, either one of you would be willing to make a motion for a recommendation?
What we just talked about?
Yeah, just for the general plan in
Yeah, I
front of us.
think it's fair, it would be, I mean, it would consider.
You guys are good with the deposit? $300 is a standard deposit, water, sewer, electric. We have to consider, not now, I get it because we're unsure what the impact ultimately would be, but if everybody starts going south on us pretty hard, we may have to look at increasing deposits. Be one of the things to do.
I think that, I believe it's, I mean, you guys know better than I would, but it seems to me like it would be, like this would be a temporary problem where we're gonna be, there might be a little pain the first month or two, but eventually everybody's either gonna get their power cut off and move, or,
I mean, if you don't
We're
pay,
gonna
it's
pay.
still getting cut off at some
Yeah.
point within 45 days.
I hope that is the case. If we are blessed and lucky, that will be the case. And,
Yeah, well, I understand why you would say that, but, I don't want them to have to move if necessary, cause our population count already going down, and you don't wanna lose too many old folks.
oh yeah, I don't want them to move, but for the health of the finances, I think it's a temporary problem. Sorry, I should have specified that a little more.
So Mr. Almond, so Phil, this would require a public hearing, correct?
yes, that'd be an ordinance change. I would
Just so
think you
y'all-
need to do that.
just-
Yeah.
So,
So we
that's
could
kind of why I'm bringing
recommend
it up.
tonight, and council could approve the public hearing for the following month.
That would be the logical process.
And we need to know, do you want us to go ahead and put out notices about this, or do we wait until after the council?
No, I think you gotta wait till
You
after
gotta wait
council.
till public
Okay, so we
hearing.
wouldn't do it this month.
I think it would be premature to send out
That makes
notices,
sense.
because
Before
people
the
are gonna get
council votes.
confused, and are they
Wait
changing,
until
not
the
changing?
Public hearing,
Then
correct,
after-
Philip?
I think,
Wait till the public hearing?
I would think so.
Yeah, okay.
So after May 20th, so we can go into the.
And so this is one of the things, if we're gonna try to get this done this fiscal year, we need to have it on the May 1st agenda, on the continued meeting, and then potentially we can have the public hearing on the, whatever regular scheduled meeting.
I realize time is getting tight again, that's why I wanted to get this done, and
Yeah,
why I
so
was kind of
if
a short
you
notice.
present it, Mr. Almond, on May 1st, then we would have the 2 weeks to advertise for the May 20th meeting for the public hearing, if you wanna do that.
Sounds good, does anybody wanna make a recommendation?
We got time for the advertising?
Do the 8th, 15th meeting, right?
Just a motion for the, to recommend the council this plan.
Yeah, I make a motion that we move forward with presenting this to the council for
They'll get it May 30th,
for
that'll be great.
a vote, yes.
Cause I can.
Alright, all in
And
favor?
I'm sorry, did you second it? Did you second it?
No, I didn't second, do we need to?
Did somebody second it?
It doesn't matter,
I
either
thought
one.
Mr. Gomez made the motion, didn't he?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Sorry, procedural.
Thank you.
Alright, so for the next one, as we were kind of going through this, we've talked about our utility software in the past. This is something when I first got on council, when I was appointed, that I was kind of passionate about. I think that I was passionate about it for the user experience. I think we're a little outdated with our software. When I first got my house, I don't think you could even view the bill total online. And then we were just getting to where you could pay online, but you had to have your bill to know exactly what to pay, and it's kind of a pain. I think we're to the point now where you can view your total online, but we're still using a third-party vendor to pay that, correct? And then when, what kind of brought this back up is when we had a bunch of advocacy for budget billing. I know that we have a lot of people on fixed income. Our current Bright software can't handle it. Can't handle budget billing. We tried it, didn't work, it was a mess. And then the third straw was, I think we're having some technical issues with Bright, and it was the recommendation of somebody with some, and with IT experience from them that we figure out a plan for to move away from them where we're at risk of losing our data, which would be very detrimental to the town if that happened. So there's, Brittany got me a list of the top of what other towns are using, some more updated ones. I think the most popular out of the list was Edmonds. There was a couple of more on there that I wanted to recommend that we kind of look at, and I was gonna ask the committee what kind of things you would wanna see on the software. So they have, I think they've got a lot of different stuff. I thought budget billing was gonna be on the number one.
Was that used very much?
Budget billing?
What we did before?
I don't think it was,
Like 30 people.
I think it was a little outdated in the application process and in doing it, and at that time, we also had a big, fuel adjustment charge at the end of the year, or true up, and everything kinda, it didn't get used very much. I do know that there are a lot of citizens that have lived in towns with a little more sophisticated software that use it very successfully. I know that when I was in college, I used it, it made my bill the same every month, and then there might be a small true up or down at the end of the year. And, again, just the bright software couldn't have it. I know Mr. Bagley's been a huge advocate for it, and I think it would really be something that would help.
I don't think he's in my district, but on my ward, but he calls and talks to me from time to time about these issues.
I don't know if it would be a good idea to roll out a new billing process with new
Well,
billing layout.
I agree, and I wasn't excited to do it, to pursue both at one time until we had a system failure come up on one of the computers. The IT guy said if we have that happen one more time, we lose all of our data.
There's no way to save it on another drive.
We have a disk drive failure, so the disk drive is what powers it to do the save and the backup, and we only basically have like one function right now, so it's
There's no
not,
OneDrive cloud or.
no, oh
It's
no,
like,
it's not,
when you look at it, it's like DOS on the software.
Yeah,
It's
It's a cartridge,
Yeah,
VHS,
it's-
Betamax.
Green
Yeah.
letters.
yes, it's the black screen, green letters, it's very dated.
Very,
Yes.
very
So-
ancient.
yes.
So I was gonna suggest that, we come up with a list of just features that we might want, and then I was gonna have whoever was applicable from the department set up a meeting with the top 3 salesmen and see what they can offer.
It would be, I mean, with the new, what we just went over with the new, billing, the 45-day window and all that, I mean, just brainstorming, thinking it would be nice if it would, if you pay on this date instead, you pay on, bullets, I see they have those bullets again. But a list of the dates, if you, this date, it'll be this much, you pay on this date, it's this much, so there's
Kind
no
of
confusion.
forecast your late fees.
Yeah,
I'm
You
sure we
know.
could have much more detailed billing if we had.
you know what I'm saying, I mean, that way,
Yeah.
at a glance, oh my God. if
Right
I-
now, Ashley has like one little box she can type in on the bill at the very, and that's it, that's all the room we have.
Yeah.
And for instance,
Having been a victim, in another place and area of, IT failure, I recommend that we go ahead and start looking, despite the fact that we may have some flat back about it. When we explain to them that it's gonna be better for them as customers not to lose their history with their bill payment, than to keep things like they are and possibly lose their bill history, and then, if they like me, if they're 3 months old and you know it's been paid, chapter 13. And then you gotta, try to figure out and backtrack stuff,
And
and
he
you
said
don't
we
have
would
the
lose
hard
everything, I
copies
mean,
to do that with.
payroll, everything.
It's gonna be hard, so I think we need to look into that a little sooner than later, cause you've already had one.
Correct.
And it's been already told to us, and just like the doctor tells you, that we can get a second opinion. The doctor says, looks like you got a small tumor, such place. Okay, if you don't get it operated on or get, chemo or something for it soon, then it's gonna, emensify and cause this and that problem. So which one would you do? Would you just let it ride and grow and have to deal with the after effects of that, or would you go and try to take care of it while it's easier to take care of?
Right.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kinda why I wanted this on the agenda, just to try to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
It's never a good time, cause we
That's
really
right.
just got our books straight, if I'm not mistaken, we just got the books transferred with the new with most of the new meters, is that correct?
Yes, we're working
So-
on the last one now.
So I feel bad to spring something else on but we can't lose our data. I mean,
No.
Yeah, we would lose
no.
everything, I mean, it wouldn't
That-
just be
that would
utilities,
be
it would be
hard.
everything.
It's horrific.
Oh, yeah, it'd
Take
be
it
the
from-
whole, everything, and not
It's
just utilities,
horrific.
treasury, it's everything.
Payroll,
It's really
AP,
horrific.
everything.
Negative
Happened
Phil
to us in
here.
North
Here
Carolina.
we go,
Negative
It's
Phil.
Yeah, it's
We
horrific.
looked at this and, God, what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
And we interviewed and you guys
We
did
looked at Edmonds. was the one we
Edmonds,
looked at.
which is kind of the more modern. Heads up, it was about $110,000.
Yep.
So it's not cheap.
And that was 3 years ago.
And it was 3 years ago. But I will tell you too, the transition is going to be a boogie for you
We're gonna
gals.
have to- It's gonna be very slow, it'd have to be one department at a time.
It's going to take a
Everyone
while
would
to
have be
institute.
trained.
It's not like
Yeah.
we have a wang bang
But
IT.
imagine,
Huh?
imagine the bigger headache
Mhm.
if we lose all the data.
Oh, I get it. We were ready to do it 3 years ago.
What do you mean?
because all of our software is on Bright, your utility, the payroll,
AP,
I mean, all the
Taxes.
taxes.
Everything.
Yeah.
It would
Everything.
be the town, just townwide, just
It
wipe
would be-
everything.
Yes.
So, one of the questions that I was gonna advocate you guys ask for the salesman is there an easy transition for Bright? I know that at some point, they've thought
I'm
about
sure
this,
they've
they're,
done it,
they're
yeah.
trying to sell software. I'm betting that they're gonna have an easier way to pay for it, maybe in installments, yearly installments, maybe in
You can lease the
percent on the
equipment.
bill, maybe something like that. And then the other thing was, is there an easy way to transition from Bright? Is this something that you can export from Bright to go into the new software?
in the county. It has to be compatible with Bright because since Nottaway County assesses our taxes each year, we use Bright to transfer down the files from the county to us.
And they use Bright.
And they
And I
use Bright.
anticipate they'll still
They'll
be
probably still
using
use
Bright.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that one of the major softwares does this. I mean,
Edmonds
for a,
did, I
s- for a
remember
software
that.
designer, that's, your goal is to sell software, you're gonna want it to easily transfer over. Make it as seamless as possible. And for a salesman, you're gonna want an easy way for to get paid for.
Well, I'm hoping they don't have the same issue, but they don't deal with as much data possibly as the town does. So, that will benefit us if we get something that does go along with and is compatible with Bright. For our sake, for here. But yeah, it's a nightmare, and it's not a overnight, take a VC powder, get up in the morning and be okay the next day or a nightmare. It's a nice long one. So we don't want that, and then that gives our customers more to complain and beef about on top of the changes that are coming, that are inevitable anyway.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a real quick question? You talked to me about this sometime, and I've put money in the budget, this proposed budget, not enough, but I put $69,000 in the proposed budget to address some of this stuff. Staying with Bright, is that an option? Can you stay with Bright? You have to
Jim
change.
Sparkman, who is our IT
Mhm.
for the IBM, is saying,
Mhm.
this is gonna continue happening no matter what you
But
do.
Is that a hardware issue or a software issue? Can we replace the AS400 and stay with Bright
I
as
think
a?
what they're saying is there's
option.
no one to replace the AS400, they're
Yes.
done.
The- it's
AS400
so-
is done
oh,
for,
it's
no one
so outdated,
services
they don't
it, no
have-
one sells it,
Yeah.
AS400 is
So
done.
Bright is basically
Bright is
bankrupt
going
now?
bankrupt, is what Aaron had told us, Aaron Hawkins told us that last
Hmm.
year. That he anticipated they would be going bankrupt.
Yeah.
But what Jim is saying basically is AS400 doesn't exist anymore, there's no one to work on it, there's no.
That's the mainframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said the county uses
For
it?
me, I'm speaking
Yes,
for me, red
They still
flag.
use it.
The county
they
still
don't.
uses it.
Well, they switched to this.
Well,
A few years ago, when we were looking at Edmonds, they were looking at Edmonds as well, but I guess with all the changes up there, they probably have taken a step back too.
Then I guess the other towns in Nottaway need to be considered.
I don't think Crew uses Bright,
They
and
don't.
I'm not sure Burkeville uses Bright.
Neither use
They
Bright.
don't use Bright.
Amelia does.
Yeah, Amelia does use Bright.
I think this is probably a thing that wouldn't have been the county probably hasn't really thought about it too much anymore, because I'm betting they haven't had
And
the
they
same
may have not
system
had the
failure
system
that they
failure.
have.
Yeah, I'm sure, 'cause
We
they
have
don't
a lot
have to
more
deal with
data
the
here than
same
they do
amount of,
offshore.
information, their data's compared to ours. They're just dealing with county issues, and we're dealing with individuals coming in and out, moving into the area, moving out, changing their, home, 'cause people integrate, update and renovate, and that changes billing and all too with your utilities and all, so there's a lot more, factors going in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, utilities is a
I think-
monster
and I-
itself.
Yeah, and I think another thing to look at is the ease of signing up for an auto pay software or an auto pay, and then credit card fees as well, to see if we're still gonna have to use a third party, or if there's still gonna
We
be a convenience
probably
fee on there.
will always have to use a third party. I don't know of any software that does it themselves.
Fair.
But, I mean, we can always, it may be something cheaper.
Well, even for signing up for auto pay, like, I'm signed up for auto pay, I love it. But to do that, I have to come up here, get a piece of
Yeah,
paper,
paper.
write my bank stuff on it, and then turn
Yeah.
it back in, like, that
I'm
is
sure the
so
newer
far out of date.
softwares have something you could just go on the website and sign up, just check a box.
Yeah, cause there's other, agencies that use AutoPay, cause my car's under AutoPay, and I didn't have to do anything on documentation, everything's online.
Online, yep.
Mr.
Yeah,
Strongman
that'd be-
likes
that would be
no
wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't like paper.
Paper.
I wanna, and that was the
Paperless.
last point of it, I think that when we did the math, you're spending around $16,000 on postage for bills a month, or, I'm sorry, a year,
A year.
16,000 a year on postage. I'd like something with a paperless option, cause I know that I don't do anything with it, I much prefer to look it up in my emails.
Again, hard copies are only needed when data information is lost.
Exactly.
So if we stay on top of being able to keep, a good range and grip on our data information, the paper can go out the door.
Philip and I still like paper.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, I'm betting at least
Well,
50%
you know,
of this town.
I was like that until I
Cash.
started dealing with, special ed children, and the IEPs changed. Did you see the change? So the IEPs changed, and I was like, okay, no more paper. They do everything on computer now, but still has to get printed out. If something is still typed in wrong, everything has to be redone. That's how the state and the federal government want that stuff. So if the school system gets audited and it gets tagged, we up the creek, and the creek full of Pookie and no packs.
She sent me a list of, and I'm trying to pull it up on my email.
It's definitely something
Either
we
one's
wanna
fine.
look at, I would think.
I just said look at the surrounding towns, pick the top 3, and
I think
then,
Edmonds and Munis are the most popular ones. Munis is the best, but it's definitely the most expensive.
yeah. Well, I'd still, I mean, there's gonna be a salesman that wants to give you a demo or give you a call. I'd still look at it and see what you're actually getting for the price, and if we can decide whether it's worth it down the road.
And the, human resource officer in Farmville offered first. I was thinking of me, Ashley, and Jackie, someone from each department to come up there and see Edmonds in real time and see what we think. So we're gonna do that one day too. To kinda see it instead of a demo, see how it actually works in a office.
That would be very good and wise to do.
Do you, Phil, do you need action from us to task them with doing this, or just common consent fine?
I gotta admit, last we talked, we were waiting on Jim Sparkman to give us a price on what possibly would be done. I didn't know that
He has,
we were at the point,
We'll have to,
I've
we'll still
seen
have
that.
to get it fixed in order to even.
Yeah, I think
we'll have to get
we
it
got
fixed
some more
either way.
work, so I'm not ready for a recommendation. I know something's coming, so I'm trying to squirrel away monies
Yeah.
and do stuff in the budget, but I think we got some more work to do, figure out exactly what it is, but I gotta admit, I didn't know it was a crisis to the point where Bright's going out of business.
yeah, I'd heard that from a few people that a lot of people are trying to get away from Bright, but I think it's just the money aspect of it.
We
don't
tried
have
to
money
get
to
away 3
switch.
years ago and the money just wasn't gonna work. We just
No.
didn't have $100 and some thousand.
I'm curious if we're talking to maybe meeting with the salesman, saying how are other places paying for this, and then we can
Yeah,
craft
we
our
need
RFP to say that. I'm wondering if we put ourselves in a
You
box
can lease
with
the
an
equipment.
RFP and a lump sum, and
That server right there, I'm sure was leased
Yeah.
for years, either through Bright or through IBM Direct.
Yeah, Jim, the IT guy, still has something to fix before we can do anything. And I would also like, for Mr. Montour, who's gonna help clean up the books, have that done before we switch anything.
just.
You guys are taking on a big project here. I mean, a big project,
It
this is
sounds like
serious.
you have to. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna have to.
But I think the timing is gonna be such that, what can Mr. Sparkman do? Can he get us through? And
Right.
if he can get us 6 months, can he get us 9 months? Do
Right.
you need to start doing it the 1st of July?
Right.
And we've gotta figure that stuff, and I'd like to talk to Mr. Sparkman and say, all right, these are options. This is
Yeah.
the good, the bad, the
I
ugly,
think
and
he's
then
having
figure
a
out.
hard time finding somebody to fix it because there really is nobody.
Yeah,
to
that's
fix
what
it.
he
I mean,
emailed
this
and said.
happened over a month ago.
Yeah,
and
he
it's still
emailed
not
the
fixed.
other day and said, I haven't found anybody yet that works on this.
Well, if that's the case, then I think it is crisis
Yeah.
time.
I think he's still looking, I mean, he's still searching for somebody, he
He
hasn't
hasn't
given up.
said no, there's absolutely no
No,
way to fix
yeah.
it yet, but he's just having a hard time.
So I think what you kinda heard from us is we wanna definitely come up with a path forward. And
Yep.
if there is a Band-Aid, then we need to figure it out
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
Soon, apply the iodine, alcohol, peroxide, whatever, and put the Band-Aid on.
Yeah, I don't think that, we're at the point where this is a back burner problem anymore. I think we need to figure out a path forward. Alright, and,
So,
that
I'm
sounds,
sorry, just to be clear, what are you asking them to do? Do you want them to contact the third places?
it sounds like the best course of action would be to contact the gentleman that handles the IT and the repair and
See what the timeline
figure
is.
out figure out what the timeline is, figure out if there's a Band-Aid, figure out whether it's a now, 3-month, 6-month, 9-month problem.
Okay.
And then once you have answers from that, that can give us a
Speak
better
to
timeline.
Mrs. Sparkman,
on
find out what the,
when we need
what
to
to do.
contact these vendors.
Ashley said she emailed him today, so hopefully we'll have an update.
Alright, the last one we have are food trucks. I know we talked about this last month, but we have the itinerant merchant policy in front of us, and I have a little, I'll fully admit I had a little confusion on how this applied, but it's sounding like that this itinerant policy does apply to food trucks. If you have a business license in the state of Virginia, it buys you 2 years in Blackstone before you have to pay this, is that correct?
Mhm.
But after that 2 years,
I don't understand that making sense, because we have to have one for Nottaway and Blackstone.
not food trucks. They're exempted for the first 2 years by state code. We didn't know that either, cause we were charging Pete and Johnson both, and he came back and handed us the state code and town council in a council meeting, so
Food
yeah,
trucks.
just food trucks.
and we've had some interest from citizens on seeing if we can make this a little easier on them for specifically more of the local ones.
Well, before you go ahead, I was gonna ask too,
Oh, excuse me.
I didn't know what you, I know how long you'll be gone, but who police, I guess you wanna say polices these, food trucks? We have some now set up at Shules, they have some set out on Church, we have some, you know.
We started
Carson's
the one on
Creamery.
Church Street the other day.
The ice cream place up here is a
They've
food
got,
truck.
they've got all their stuff.
Yeah, they've got a,
And they have an electric meter, do they have trash? Do they
Yep,
have
they've got everything set up.
water and sewage and everything?
that's what these ladies did.
They do not have water and sewer.
Sewer, no, but they got the
But they
electric.
do have
everything.
electric and they pay for it.
You can see where they trenched it in along the road.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I can see the meter from the road, but they do have electric.
And they came in and got their meals tax forms.
and they
It's
do
not due
meal
yet,
tax.
it'll be due in a couple days.
But there's another one, it's a soul food
Soul
truck.
food, yeah, we asked.
Yetta's, we stopped at Yetta's the other day. I've got my license, because I know the 2-year situation, I've got my license, but part of what the discussion is tonight is about the requirement. We have, and I think Jennifer's got the code section in there, we have kind of an oddball thing for itinerant merchants. We still have very old ordinance. May say 71, but I bet it's older than that. Our itinerant merchant's license, okay, peddler's license, if you will, states that it's a flat fee, it's not based on gross receipts like you or anybody else. It's based on a flat $500 a year fee, and itinerant merchants must, which a food truck is an itinerant merchant because it's not with a fixed situs, an itinerant merchant has to provide the town a surety bond, and this thing can be pretty expensive. And I think the intention was years ago, the merchants probably wanted the town to be very strict on traveling salesmen and peddlers and all that kind of stuff. That may need some work because that surety bond is something different than what a cited business owner would pay, okay? And they pay a fixed fee whether they, like the fireworks tent that has set up in front of the old medical center, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. It hasn't in the past year or two, but there used to be a fireworks tent. And they would come in and they pay us $500 up front, irregardless of what their sales were. Bam, they pay $500. And a surety bond that people can take claim on if there's a faulty piece of equipment that was sold or electronic or whatever was sold. But it's pretty tough. Most folks, when we tell them it's $500 up front and a surety bond, they're like, man, nobody else does that kind of stuff. So that may be part of the discussion for today, certainly on the food truck portion of it. But I do think that you probably need to have some restriction for somebody who takes a box truck and pulls up in front of Shules and starts selling couches.
Yeah.
You need to have some restriction there. I don't think that is necessarily a good thing for them to do that. And we've had somebody selling couches and recliners out in front of Food Line not long in the Schultz parking lot, right?
In a truck?
In a truck, opened up the back of the truck and started selling stuff. Or a truck that was wanting to sell seafood and meat down there at Clay's, if you remember a few years ago.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, in the recent past. So those kinds of things, I'm not advocating any change, but the food truck thing, that may be something for y'all to consider, okay? Because it is pretty tough on there. And the question is, since we are not allowed to charge a business license in town for the first 2 years, if they have a business license, not necessarily with the county, but any other jurisdiction, as I understand, do we still want the surety bond to be required? Like the soul food place, she may very well have told me she had a business license. I didn't want to, I was standing on the side of the street, I didn't want to have a big discussion about it, but she said she had a business license. She has one, she's legal for the first 2 years. But I don't know if she's had a surety bond, and I would say she probably has not submitted a surety bond. Okay.
And the $500 is a flat fee from anyone doing that?
Anyone, irregardless
Pay
of,
that upfront.
up front.
They've done that? Yettos and?
No, she's exempt because of the car. It's a food truck. She didn't have
She
to
didn't
get,
have to do it for 2 years.
She doesn't
for
have to
2
do
years.
2 years.
She didn't have to
But
have a
say-
business
Say
license.
they're making the rounds for 2 years, after 2 years, for
Then we
pretty
can
much
charge.
blackballing the town.
But a food truck is specifically exempt for the first 2 years. I didn't know it either until
But I
Tina
feel
Johnson
like
got it.
if the girls or Philip, you're just going by what these people say. We need proof of it, and that's
Yeah,
when you ask for the surety.
I mean, and Carson's doesn't have water to it? That's surprising for health though.
The creamery, the new ice cream
I mean,
place.
they have to have rinse
uses
water.
Eric's meter.
Huh?
He uses Eric's meter for the water.
And that's not an itinerant because it's in a fixed location.
Yep.
It's not moving, so that's considered a fixed location.
Been through the wars on this
It's
thing.
got wheels on. Fitting on his fixed location, but anyway, yeah, I've been asked by a number of the, as it's called, constituents about the food trucks and how we keep an eye on it or whatever.
Can't say we know everything. Somebody called me not long ago about somebody who has a food truck who was serving food from their house. You could place orders. Not legal. Can't do it. It does not meet home occupation standards. You can't serve food from your house.
You can't do hair from your house.
Huh?
You can't even do hair from your house. I know people who try to do it.
Can't do it.
If
Yeah.
if it gets
I get
out,
people who
you
have
will-
called
you will
about
be
Taylor's
fined.
Bottom. I've had one over on
You will
Tavern
be
Street,
fined.
Broad Street recently, and
But if we have these food trucks that are in town, like the soul food or whatever, we need proof that she has it.
Yeah, I think that,
And then you need to,
Absolutely.
and then from that date, when you get it, maybe date it that day, and then that we know when the 2 years is up, that they.
but that was, we're waiting for tonight to have that discussion about the surety bond.
Yep.
I'm good on the license.
Are
I've
we
been
asking for that up front?
shown that, huh?
Are we asking for the surety bond up front?
Hell, they're running a food truck and we find about it 2 weeks later. So went over and asked her, oh, I'm straight. But we're gonna have that discussion tonight. Do we still want the surety bond for the food truck? Before I started a big stink eye with the lady about it, is that the intention
Right,
to
'cause the
continue
moment we
doing that
ask
or
for
not?
it, she's gonna say, well, who's saying you can ask for it?
I think that a $5,000 surety bond and a $500 fee after the 2 years is a little excessive. I can see where this was coming from, cause I don't think that this was written at a time where food trucks were a more popular thing. At the same time, I
Yeah.
wanna respect our brick and mortar business owners that are restaurants that have been here. I wanna respect that too.
Yeah, that's where, that's,
Sorry, I was thinking maybe we go to a just general permit we can do it per day or per week or however we wanna do it, where it's a much less than $500 per year. Cause I think, if you come do business here after the 2 years for one day, when you did business 2 years ago, that's $500.
So you think they should just like report their gross sales like everybody else?
I get you. I get what you're saying, because some people, some vendors only come see us for certain events, like the, arts festival. They might come just for that, and they still pay the
And then,
$500.
yeah,
I don't think we're charged the $500 for
Yeah,
arts
they
and
report their
crafts
gross-
and Juneteenth, but they do have to pay meals tax.
Yeah, they pay meals.
Yes, I think no matter what, the meals tax needs to be paid. I would, if there's a way, I'd advocate for a special meals tax. That would be a percent, whatever we could go percent higher. If that's not doable, then maybe a permit per day, where then you could get the business license from wherever else. It'd be a stopping point where, hey, if you gotta get this permit, we need to see your business license when you do it. What that number is, I don't know. I don't know what's appropriate. I don't know if it's $20 a day. I don't know if it's $5 a day. I don't know if it's $100 a day. I don't know where that's think that $20 a day is kind of just rough numbers, what I was seeing.
Mhm.
And I think that would I feel like that would be fair.
For the first 2 years, you mean?
After the first 2 years.
After the
After
first 2 years.
because we can't do anything for the first 2 years, right?
Can't do anything for 2 years, but after the first 2 years, can't you just base it on growth, like everybody else?
We can do that. We can base it on gross, just like a normal business license. I'm not against that
Like a
either.
restaurant, put it under retail sales, 11 cents per hundred.
And just do it that way. It may be less, but I do think the $10 minimum for a business license is probably antiquated as well, so I
Well,
I don't know many
maybe
people
we
that
do
sell business
gross.
licenses that.
do the gross, and then we have a small permit fee to go along with that per day,
Mhm.
just to respect our restaurants downtown and respect our other brick and mortar. Because essentially, if we only did the gross per sale, then they're paying the exact same thing that the restaurants are paying, correct?
Again,
So I would
Yeah.
advocate after the 2 years, we go to the gross sale method, however we can word that, and then start with a $20 per day permit.
Now, Mr. Alderman, if you don't mind, the surety bond that's $5,000 we require, it is I've never had one, and I don't know that anyone that has ever gotten it, but it's my understanding you're already insured, and this doesn't cost you $5,000, but it's just like an additional.
you gotta buy
to
an
your
insurance policy.
It's an addition.
Just
to
an
your
insurance policy.
Yes,
I was looking at it as a normal.
In the
bond.
value
Okay.
of 5,000 or worth $5,000, so you may pay $250 for it or
Gotcha.
400, whatever
Whatever
your
your
insurance.
insurance charges for it.
but
Okay.
that covers people that may buy from these people, that we have something here
Mhm.
that they can fall back on if something happens, if something is faulty that they have sold in the town of Blackstone.
And I think at the time when it was probably put in place, and it's before my time, but I think it was probably intended to either alleviate a problem that brought this on, or to be, I can't say punitive, but dissuade folks from doing door-to-door sales and things like that in town. Back in the 50s or 60s, whenever it was originally adopted.
So do you feel like that you would wanna keep that, Mr. Alderman, or?
I wanna keep it, but I want it to be whatever's appropriate. If we were doing this to be punitive, then I don't think we need to do that anymore, but I'm not saying we need to let our citizens eat unprotected either. This is,
Right.
this is a part of it that I will fully admit I didn't understand, so I didn't do my research on that, on the surety bond portion.
Perhaps I can call a local, maybe Cal Jackson or something, he can tell me how much a surety
That would be
bond
great.
is. Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, but just for the portion of the 500, let's just focus on the $500 per year so we can at least accomplish something with this portion of it. Would the committee be in favor of axing the straight $500 per year and going to a gross sales, percent of gross, like a business license would be after the 2 years? That way, if you have somebody that's set up here 30 days out of the year versus somebody set up here 1 day out of the year, it would be proportionate.
Right.
So the restaurants pay 11 cents per $100 for their gross sales right now.
That makes sense, cause you do have some, vendors that are here beyond special events.
And I think for people that would stay here longer than, I don't know, probably like for your more semi-permanent setups, if they still fell under this itinerant merchant thing, I think you would probably end up paying more than $500 by the end of the year if your gross was.
If the property's right.
Yes.
If they are honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same way with the meals tax.
Same with meals tax, same way with all the other business licenses, it'd be the same playing field.
That part.
The meals tax is still required.
Yes.
Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna ring.
Yeah, I think meals tax is non-negotiable, right?
Yeah, we're not even thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like, in fairness again to the brick and mortar restaurants we have here, there almost should be a little more tweak to it for the traveling trailers or food, you know what I mean?
Is that retail, can we make a special retail gross
You can do
tax?
whatever you want.
I know,
Add
how much
whatever.
leeway we had.
You can, you wanna make a whole
said-
new rate just for food trucks, we can get right to whatever.
Right, those may be established by the state code. I just
yeah,
caution
maybe.
you, just make sure that you
Yeah,
can,
that's true, maybe.
can do what you're talking about.
It'd be worth looking at.
Yeah, I think maybe we do some research into that too and see if we can have a special sales tax on that,
Okay.
where it'd be a little higher. Again, we're really just trying to balance where we don't wanna make it impossible for a food truck to come here, but we wanna be fair to the brick and mortar. That's really what I think the spirit spirit of what we're all saying is.
Yep, I agree.
Concur.
Alright. Well, again, the main thing was the utility billing, I'm really glad we got that done, and glad the utility software came to light, and food trucks, even though I didn't think it was gonna need to, I think it still needs a little more work, but I don't wanna keep y'all any longer.
That's all good.
So,
So we're presenting this to the council on the first.
correct.
The only thing we're really presenting is the utility